First round of the NBA playoffs underway, a blowout in Boston. 2 minutes left here in the first half. Sam Hauser steals the inbound pass, feeds Jayson Tatum alone on the break, and he throws down the slam. Tatum with 21 points in the first half. That's his most in a first half this season. Late third quarter, Celtics up by 23 at this point. Inbound pass to Jaylen Brown in the corner, and he hits the catch and shoot three as the Celtics go on to win game one of this series against the Philadelphia 76ers. 123-91 is your final score. Jayson Tatum, Jaylen Brown both went off today. Over 25 points for each of them. Boston gets it done in game one. For much more on this, let's go ahead and bring in our own John Gonzalez for more. John, pure just dominance from Boston all around today. What were your takeaways as an unfortunate Sixers fan?
Sixers follower. Let's not use the fan word and throw that around. Unfortunately, I've been saddled with watching that team my whole life. Let's talk about the Celtics, who are actually a good team. And what my takeaways were, they're just so much better than the Sixers, right? I picked the Celtics to win this series in a sweep. And you saw what happened in game one. That's why. I mean, Jayson Tatum was phenomenal today, had 25-point double-double, throw in 7 assists, a couple of steals, played 32 minutes. This is a guy who missed 10 months with an Achilles injury, does not look like it. And the Celtics, Jordan, were already a good team before he came back. Jaylen Brown, he also had a good game. He goes for 26 points. Again, smattering of rebounds, some assists, a couple of steals, 30 minutes. I mean, the Sixers had absolutely no answer for either of those guys. And in a game where Derek White didn't even play that well, where some of their other players like Neemias Queta was fine, Hauser and Pritchard were fine. The bench, they didn't even need to go deep into the bench. The Celtics are infinitely deeper than the Sixers, and the Sixers' top-line talent, when you don't have Joel Embiid, they're in a lot of trouble. Even when they have Joel Embiid, I don't think that they'd even get a game off of this team. So, yeah, the Celtics are marching on sooner than later. You
mentioned it, Jayson Tatum put up almost 30 points in this one, his first playoff game. When you look back at really his journey and that Achilles injury that you mentioned, what's been most impressive?
Just how good he looks physically coming back, because the shots sometimes can desert him. Even when he was previously healthy, he could be a streaky shooter, but he does so many other things on the court well, and to do those things well, you have to move well, and Achilles is obviously a very tricky injury. It usually takes a year to come back. He comes back in 10 months, and he doesn't look like he had an Achilles injury at all. He's running the floor really well. He's rebounding well. The passing has been fantastic, and then that defense, that's what really sets him apart, Jordan, and it's the reason why he's a perennial first-team All-NBA selection when he's healthy. He can guard anybody in the league 1 through 5, so it just really levels up the entire Celtics team. And to have him back, I thought that they would have been contenders in the East if he had not come back at all. That's how good they were playing, and that's what a great job Joe Mazzulla did with less. He really gets a lot out of that team, but then you add him in, and man, they're the favorites in the East for me.
Yeah, you mentioned this was already a good team before Tatum came back from his injury. Currently the favorites to win the East. Looking at this group as a whole, you saw the dynamic duo between him and Jaylen Brown. Are you confident that this is a team that can go on to win the championship?
Win the championship? No, I have them in the finals. I have them losing to the Nuggets, but it wouldn't surprise me if they did win it all. They're the favorites in the East for a reason, and if they get to the finals, they could beat anybody. But I would still probably have whoever comes out of the West to beat them in the finals. But still, even getting to the finals this season, Jordan, when I thought, and a lot of people thought, that they were going to take a step back when Tatum blows out his Achilles, and then in the offseason, Brad Stevens dismantled the previous championship roster. He got rid of Drew Holiday, Kristaps Porzingis, Al Horford, Luke Cornett, and you're thinking, man, they're definitely going to take a step back, but they didn't, because that organization is so well run. In contrast to the Sixers, they do more with less, right? Joe Mazzulla goes and takes a guy like Neemias Queta, who was a role player, and elevates him to a critical starter. Sam Hauser and Peyton Pritchard, on any other team, I'm not sure that they are as good and as vital and as crucial to the winning prospects of the Celtics as they are on Boston. And then, a guy like Baylor Shireman, I think he'd probably be, non-Joel Embiid division, the third best player if you put him on the Sixers, which is ridiculous because he's just a rotation guy. So credit to the Celtics. They're really, really good up and down the roster.
All right, let's focus on the Sixers now. What is most glaring after this blowout loss?
Yeah, the answer is yes. This was one of those teams where I was hoping they were going to crash out of the play-in because they owe a top 4 protected pick to Oklahoma City because Oklahoma City has a zillion picks, right? The chances of them keeping that pick had they crashed out of the play-in were less than like 3%. I thought that was preferable to whatever this is, where they're going to get swept by the Celtics. And I don't think that this serves them well. I don't think it serves Maxey well or VJ Edgecombe. Maybe VJ gets a little bit of playoff experience. That's fine, but they're going to get swept here. And really, the only bright spots on that team are Maxey and Edgecombe. They did not come to play today. From the opening tip, they just got run off that floor. Jordan, they had more than 3 times as many turnovers as they had made threes. That's not good, right? I mean, like, even when Joel Embiid is out there, I don't think that this is a particularly good team. PG, he hasn't looked like the max money player the contract that they gave him. So this is a going home situation for the Sixers.
Ooh, all right, well, game 2, Tuesday, 7 p.m. Eastern time. Before we let you go, this game was in Boston at about 3 minutes left in this game. We heard Boston fans chanting, "We want Boston." Can you explain why?
Yeah, so when the Sixers were beating the Orlando Magic in the play-in, Sixers fans, and I think most of them were knowingly doing it as a tongue-in-cheek thing, but they were chanting, "We want Boston," right? And so Boston cleverly today was chanting it back at them as sort of a troll. I think Sixers fans were kind of in on the joke on that because everybody knows that the Sixers do not beat Boston in the postseason. They have not beaten the Celtics in the postseason since 1982. There's a Philadelphia sports writer who tweeted this out. He said that the Sixers haven't beaten Boston in a series without having either Wilt Chamberlain or Dr. J on the roster, and neither of those guys are available in this series. So very clever there. Shouts to Bob Vitrone Jr. I don't think that that's going to change in this series, Jordan.
No, I fear there may be some more trolling to come. That's for sure. Unfortunate for you, my friend. John Gonzalez joining us here for our post-game coverage on CBS Sports HQ. A dominant Game 1 victory from Boston. A busy weekend, by the way, in Boston. So 1 down, a few more to go. The Red Sox in action today. The Bruins in the Stanley Cup playoffs. Not in Boston, but in Buffalo. That should be a good one in the Boston Marathon tomorrow. Nicole Moss for more. Ashley, great to see you. Let's start with this game at 1 p.m. The Celtics, as we know, traded off key pieces of their championship team this season, but they're still a top 2 seed in the East. Should we expect Boston to make quick work of the 76ers, especially without Joel Embiid?
I wouldn't say quick because, again, we don't really know what the status of Joel Embiid is just yet. There have been rumblings that he may or may not be able to return for this series. Obviously, we would know if he was going to be able to play for Game 1, so you can take that out of the mix. But the jury is still out on whether or not we'll see Joel Embiid at all. Even without Joel Embiid, though, I do think that the 76ers will make the Celtics work. As we know, they are a scrappy team. They're a young team. They've been able to stay afloat even without Joel Embiid in the way that you would want him present, right? He's had some ins and outs throughout the season, but he hasn't been a dominant force, a constant force that you would expect or would you want him to be in order to really put money on the 76ers. The Boston Celtics should win this series. Again, this is without Joel Embiid being in the picture, so we're going to have the conversation as if he's not playing. With no Joel Embiid, the Boston Celtics, should be able to win this series, but I don't think it's going to be easy for them. Obviously, we do know one of the Achilles heels of the Boston Celtics is they shoot a lot of three-pointers. They take a lot. They average around 45 to 50 attempts per game. That's a lot of threes. And if you go back to the series they had against my New York Knicks, the reason the Knicks were able to get a 2-1 or 2-0 and then ultimately a 3-0 head on the Celtics in that series is because they chose to live and die by the three. I'm interested to see if Joe Mazzulla changes that game plan or he sticks to it because that's just the Boston Celtics way. But if you ask me overall picture, I do think the Boston Celtics, without an appearance from Joel Embiid, should be able to pull this out in maybe 5 or 6 games.
All right, we'll find out soon enough as they tip off at 1 o'clock Eastern time. Let's head out west now as the Thunder begin their title defense against the Suns, who they actually matched up well against during the regular season, posting similar points per game and splitting the series as you see here. What do you expect, though, Ashley, for Game 1 today?
Look, the Phoenix Suns, they are a good defensive team, and that is why the matchup between them and Portland was so exciting and so fun to watch. Offensively, they struggled in the first half, which ultimately I think they were just constantly playing catch up in that game, and the Trailblazers took advantage of that. But in this particular series, you're talking about the Oklahoma City Thunder. Defensively, they're great. Offensively, they're great. And when we talk defensively, we're talking OKC, the top-rated defense in the NBA during the regular season this season. They're just deep from every single corner of this roster. It doesn't have NBA every single night. There are just so many other guys around him that not only support him, but also are stars in their own right. I don't believe the Phoenix Suns have a chance. I do believe that they'll make it interesting in some of these games. Some of these games may be a lot closer than people anticipated. I would be very surprised, though, if this Oklahoma City series against the Phoenix Suns goes past 5 games. I just think the Thunder are drastically better than Phoenix in this one.
All right, let's get to the Magic and Pistons, both looking to snap their series droughts. The Magic have not won a series since 2010, and the Pistons have not won a series since 2008. Who do you think gets on the right foot in Game 1?
So this series is interesting because if you're Detroit, you really wanted Charlotte, because Charlotte would have been a way easier opponent for the Detroit Pistons. The Orlando Magic, yes, I know that they have struggled throughout the entirety of the regular season with health, and then Paolo Banchero just has not taken that leap that we've expected somebody who has been in the league as long as he has to take. I think that he has all the makings to be a true star in this league, superstar in this league. We just haven't seen him take those we haven't seen him hit those benchmarks. He's still not very reliable from the 3. His mid-range game is almost non-existent. He just relies so much on his size to drive it into the paint, and you need a deeper bag than that. But I say that this is a team that's going to cause some issues for the Detroit Pistons because they're just as big, they're just as physical, and they like to play that way, which is why if you're Detroit, you can't take them lightly, because the Orlando Magic are kind of like a conundrum in the sense you never know which version of the team you're going to get. There's versions of the team that you're looking at and you're like, wow, these guys are pretty mediocre. Like, this is not a good basketball team. And then the next time you see them, you're like, where has this Orlando Magic team been the entirety of the regular season? This is why a lot of people thought they should be a better playoff team than they are now. I say all that to say, I still think the Detroit Pistons will win this, but they're going to come out of this a little beaten up and bruised up. I think that, like I said, the Magic have the size, they have the physical capabilities, they like to play that way, and so does Detroit. My only concern with the Pistons, and this is a concern I have with them, as they continue their journey, hopefully continue their journey throughout the Eastern Conference, there's a lot of reliance on Cade Cunningham to be the scorer. They don't have a lot of guys on that floor who can generate their own shot the way that Cade Cunningham does, who can put up the type of offense that Cade Cunningham does. So I'm interested to see what the game plan is for this series. If you remove Cade as much as you possibly can from scoring, the Magic may be able to make some noise and steal some games, which I expect them to do.
All right, lastly, Ashley, we get Scoot Henderson versus Victor Wembanyama in the first round. Just how great is this matchup for the future of the league, and which maybe young star has a better chance to take over a playoff series right now?
It's going to be fun. This is going to be a fun one to watch. It's going to be a sleeper, if you will. I still think the Spurs are going to come out on top of this one. They have the offense, they have the defense, but I wouldn't make it for me, this is not going to be a sweep. I know a lot of people are saying, oh, the Portland Trailblazers don't stand a chance. People haven't been watching the Portland Trailblazers this season if that's how they feel. This is a defensive team, I believe top 5 in defense this season. And also they have the offensive firepower that can go off on any given night. Now, in comparison to what San Antonio does, yes, it's not quite the same, but I definitely think that you can expect Portland to pull out a game, maybe even 2, depending on what versions of the San Antonio Spurs show up and show out. But look, Victor Wembanyama is Victor Wembanyama, and he's the alien for a reason, and I just don't think that anybody on Portland has the answer for him, which is why I think that the Spurs are going to be able to pull this one out.
It's going to be fun to watch. We get to see it all go down at 9 p.m. Eastern time. That's our nightcap. Ashley Nicole Moss joining us live here on CBS Sports HQ, but all of the action for the NBA playoffs in this first round begins at 1 Eastern.